Welcome back to Making Love Visible. My name is June Dillinger, and I'm your host today. I'm so glad that you've joined me. If you think I look familiar, it's possible, because for about 7 years, I had a program here called It's All About Love. And this past year, I decided to up-level it a bit and call it Making Love Visible. And it kind of has like a little edge to it, and yet when we are busy making love visible, something really different happens. And there's a sense of that comes with one of our state statutes, the word aloha. And so several months ago, I had, oh no, it wasn't several months ago, maybe it was even a couple of years ago. I'm a little bit excited if you can't tell. I have a guest here today that I met online several years ago. His name is Spirit McRae. And when I had the opportunity to spend some time with him for a couple of evenings and perhaps afternoons, I discovered he has a magic that's saving Hawaii. Let me introduce to you Spirit McRae.
Hello, June. How are you?
I'm fantastic. I'm so glad that you're here today. I was so inspired by your beingness and what you have brought from the mainland here and what you're creating, that when I looked at my list of intriguing people that I thought Hawaii should know about, you are one of them, because you are making a difference here. And so if you would share just a little bit about how you began your journey and how you're making a difference, and I'll interject some fun questions in between and some maybe ignorant questions that you, the audience, could possibly be thinking of.
All right.
So I'm going to turn it to you for a few minutes.
Well, let's have some fun with this. Well, originally, before I came to Hawaii, I have a counseling company in Colorado. And I had a contract with the youth facility there, the youth jail. And I did a workshop or a presentation there for it was about a 90-minute presentation with about 80 members. There was staff to include the youth that was part of the facility. And one of the presentation strategies that I was using is, we were in a basketball court, about 65, 70 people in this basketball court.
All kids?
All kids and staff. It was about 45 kids and about 15 to 20 staff. And they were all sitting on one wall, and I was in the front. Similar to this setting here. I was in the front and they were, in front of me, in the back of me there. And what I asked for were 2 volunteers, a male and a female. And during this time, I had each one of them stand with their back against the wall, let's say the width of the room.
Okay.
I stood in front of them, and I said the only thing that they have to do is listen to me and follow me as I walk in front of them. Well, from the width of the wall, let's say it's about, 150 feet. During this time, I was talking to them about self-development, about their plans, and we started walking. In increments of about 4 to 5 feet, I dropped a quarter in front of each one of them, and we continued to walk the span of that room. When we got to the other side of the room, they stopped. They were about 4 feet away from me. I turned around, because I was talking to them as well as the staff, and I asked them to open their hand and tell me how many quarters they had picked up. And I had laid down probably about maybe $2.50 worth of quarters. It was just symbolic. And I asked them, how many quarters did they pick up? And both of them laughed and said, well, we didn't pick up any. We didn't know we could. No one told us we could. And I said to them, I said, just imagine every day how many blessings, how many opportunities, how many gifts we walk by and never know they're opportunistic. We don't know if they have value. We don't know if we're supposed to attain this thing. And it got me to thinking. I talked to the youth, I talked to the staff, and it just lit up light bulbs. Every single day we pass by love in different forms, and we're never aware of it. That got me to thinking, let's do more work. So I expanded from Colorado and into counseling, and I started traveling the world and doing meditation workshops, energy healing, self-development courses, and of course I land here in Hawaii.
The Mecca.
Oh,
This
yes.
is the Mecca for
This is the melting
personal
pot.
enlightenment and coming
Absolutely.
into your own and feeling that richness of spirit,
Yes.
of spirit.
The mana here is amazing because the water is such a high vibrational element and you're surrounded by it. So here I decided, counseling is great, life coaching is great, let me take it a step further. So I started to pursue a doctorate in marriage and family therapy, to which I'm due to graduate in May of 25. And with the clients and the community that I do engage with, I say about 75% of them have some hesitancy, not only because they're unaware of their own voice, the importance of it, but no one really supports that voice and says, hey, share this with me, I'll water you, I'll share with you all the wisdom and knowledge that I have, and the only thing that I ask in return is for you to embrace that in yourself and then spread that if possible. And to me, that's a small asking. Because you're not really asking, it's a symbiotic process. Mm-hmm. So I like to have fun with it. We'll play, we'll talk. I rarely am in a confined room. I love to be out hiking. I love to be out touching the land. I love to be out getting my fingers dirty.
Yes.
So yeah, it's been nice.
And so when you and I met, you were doing what I would call street work. Is that an appropriate term?
It's
a gentle approach to the work that exists?
Yes. You can call it guerrilla marketing. You can call it like grassroots, but I enjoy connecting. Yeah. And there's magic in that. And when I first met you, you light up a room. And I think that we just brought out in each other what exists. Mm-hmm. And now we in the environment of Hawaii, so go figure, right?
Yes. So has it been 3 years that you've been on Oahu?
I just went over 2.
Just over 2. Okay, so I think you and I met shortly after your arrival.
Within 6 months.
Yeah, you were getting things sorted out and pieced together about the work that you were doing. So I want to understand from where you began here, and tell our audience a little bit about what's actually happening in the real world.
Okay.
On Oahu.
Well, on Oahu, from my perspective, when I first came, I was a case manager. And I would go out every day. I would either be speaking with homeless, or I would be speaking with vulnerable populations, whether they have mental illness, whether they are facing some challenge or some struggle. And a large part of that, I want to know, what can I do to support you? If you feel like sharing, how did you get in this position, and what you see so far as your way out? And any other little details that may be helpful for us along the way. Mm-hmm. And the funny side of that is a lot of people that I spoke to, minus the mental illness, said that, hey, if I'm going to be homeless, I might as well be homeless in Hawaii.
I'm in the right place to do it.
You might as well.
Oh, well, yes,
that's
of course.
That was the initial thought process. But then it's like, okay, I'm here. I still have to support myself. I still have to be safe. I still have to connect and get to know people. How best do I do that now that I'm like, okay, I'm over that honeymoon stage of homelessness or struggle? Now let me go face to face with it.
Yes.
And what's happening here is a lot of Native and non-Native persons, their consciousness is rising, their love is growing, their ability to see themselves differently is very apparent. And I am privileged to be able to sit face to face, mano a mano, and take this in. And for those persons who are unable to truly see their gaze in totality, mm-hmm. through asking questions, through conversation, I can guide them back to that mirror. And it's a beautiful experience, it really is.
So that becomes a place of oneness for you with them. Meanwhile, everybody's driving by. They're like, they notice one group of homeless move from this place to that place. And I've become familiar over the years with certain faces that are familiar to me. I've been known to support a couple in special alternative ways that they will be willing to accept. So my question is for the audience that may say, oh, that's somebody else's problem, or I'm so glad I live where I do, or I don't have those people in my neighborhood, or they are in my neighborhood, and there's just so much around it, that the sense of human connection, whether somebody has an issue with drugs or anything, there's still a piece that I feel can be present with love. And while love is, I just heard this recently, love is no longer the big deal because nobody understands it. It's authenticity. So when I am authentic and I'm real with me, and then I'm real with you, that's when we get to experience that sensation or that mindfulness around that word, verb, adjective, noun, whatever you want to call it, love. And so in the roundabout question, I guess what I'm asking is, how can you and I support those that are questioning with all of the homeless on how to be of service? What's the, could you name 2 or 3 ways that we could best be of service that would be thoughtful?
Well, the first way is one that you already said, and it just set off a bell: oneness. Oneness has 2 facets to it. Oneness that we're all human beings. We are all in this melting pot, this aloha together. And no matter how you may deny it, no matter how you may say, oh, that homeless person, whether it's deliberate or not, they're on their side of the street, I'm on mine, you're not, because you're engaging. Even consciousness, you're engaging with that. So that lets you know we're all one. The other facet of that is oneness of oneself. You have to understand that we all hold things near and dear to ourselves. You know, we all hold safety, family, we all hold struggle, we all hold stress, we all hold these things within ourselves. We're our own entity. So the oneness that we have within ourselves, we must recognize and come to a point of celebration to say, hey, okay, I may not be homeless, but if I can't give money, if I can't be of service, at least let me show gratitude. Let me not belittle, let me not judge, let me send some well-wishing. And if, on the other hand, if you can do something, be of service. Donate your time at a food bank, donate your time at a church, donate your time giving out food. If you can do more, great. But first, like you said, the 1 or 2 things, the first thing is reconciling in yourself that you are no different than this other person. Truth be told, many moons ago, I was homeless. Me, my wife at the time, and my 2 children. We were in a small little truck. We had both had, I was working. It's just that the economy, life circumstance happened to where you have a job, you're gainfully employed, you're getting up, brush your teeth, and going to work every day. It's just at the end of the day, your keys open up a 4-door vehicle instead of a home.
And now you're about getting your PhD. I love it.
Exactly.
Doctorate.
And that's the oneness that I'm talking about. I am connected to myself in such a way that says, I love me because I love you. You love you because you love yourself and you love me. Whether we are intuitive enough to understand that, that's what's happening.
So this brings me to a point about a knowing, an inner knowing. I have to believe that the majority of people that do a drive-by a homeless group, or someone that may, I don't know, there's tweakers or all kinds of things going on around here at random times of the day, have an inner knowing that there's something that exists. And what you said was powerful to me was, whether you can't give your time or your money, you can change your thinking. You can have a different mindfulness around it. and just send them peace, send them love, send them a safe space to be who they need to be for them. Is that what I'm hearing you say?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. There's a lot to be said about that. I know stinking thinking is a very popular thing.
Stinking thinking is,
That's why the planet is partially like it is. And at the same time, without negativity, we wouldn't have the joys of positivity.
Yeah.
And that transference of energy that actually moves things to make things happen. I don't know if you know this about me, and maybe you as the audience either do or don't know. Once upon a time, I was in a relationship that was not healthy after my long marriage. And my mother said, well, if your life is messed up, you need to go be of service. I'm like, I already am. I was facilitating Toastmasters in the women's prison. And it was about my 3rd year in, and she said, well, clearly it's just not enough. I'm like, oh my gosh. And so I was at Unity that next Sunday, and I was working on becoming on a spiritual path. Stop me, did I tell you this story?
No.
Okay, good.
No. I'm right here
so
with
it's
you.
fresh. It's fresh for everybody.
These are new seeds you're planting.
Okay, good. So I was at church that next Sunday, and you know when you begin to ask, it's sort of that inner knowing. When something comes up for you, you can either pay attention to it or push it under the carpet. It's like those quarters. There are gifts all around you. Are you going to pick them up and use them? No, because they said I couldn't, or nobody told me that I could. Yet using your own inner knowing, there's an answer there for you. Whether you like it or not, there is an answer there for you, and it's always right. It's called letting your heart lead. And that answer is always right. So anyhow, I'm sitting at Unity that Sunday, and lo and behold, the slide comes down, and they said, oh, they're looking for prison ministers. At Waiava, the men's correctional facility, and Halava, the men's maximum penitentiary. And I'm thinking, oh, I'm kind of a gentle flower. I mean, I can teach public speaking, but can I go into a prison and talk about Christianity and that kind of stuff? Especially since I was on a learning path myself. And so, but of course, you know, if you ask and you don't do something about it, then it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. It never, ever, ever goes away until we address it. So I called, and sure enough, I ended up spending 5 years in prison ministry here. And the value, partially the reason why I'm telling you the story is because I'm not sure that the inmates healed like I did. What I do know is that 10% of, or at that time, 10% of the inmates that participate in some sort of religious practice while they're incarcerated do not return. So the recidivism rate is 10%, which is, I felt like a way that I could be of service. And it just reminds me of those little pieces. That was my time. I didn't have money, but my time and talent I could share even as I was learning. And so, as you say, to volunteer and be of service, and it's a humbling experience to make the choices that we do, and they all show us the path. And now look where you are.
And look where you are. So I have a question for you, if you don't mind.
Sure.
And being in that environment, being who you are, what was the value? What was your takeaway? I mean, because you brighten up all rooms, so obviously there was a give and take there. So what was it for you? Like what?
That we're all the same.
Yeah.
We're all the same, and that's what I find most difficult and challenging, is that it's my own judgment. It's my own what I don't know about them, and finding that place of safety within me to know that I'm always safe. And it's quite possible if I'm feeling this way, they might be feeling this way too.
Yeah.
And hearing so many stories while in prison ministry, often it's the way someone was raised, or the environment that they were dancing around in, that got them polluted into the space that they are today. And so there's, and that doesn't mean you have to be incarcerated for that. You can do it in your regular life. You could take a look and say, you know, why am I overweight? Well, because I'm in this environment, I'm choosing not to do something about it, and yet I know that I could go for a walk. So all of those little tiny choices, that we have this inner knowing that has the opportunity to be our guide, and make love visible for us. Like, how are you making love visible for you in your day first, where you are living and walking in that space of you being you and the beautiful being that you are? And if you don't feel it, then there are ways to get to it with counseling and therapy, with you, for that matter, Spirit.
You know, the funny thing is, I heard something the other day, and it struck me, and I'm still kind of processing it. And they said, get over the ego of trying to enlighten people, help people. Focus on you. It's all about you. Like, so when you carry yourself out somewhere, it's not to change anybody. It's to offer yourself to these people as you. And whatever light, whatever comes from that, comes from that. But your goal should not be to change, to influence, or to manipulate. Because last I knew, it was like, 2021, there was like 3 to 4% of the population, which is about like 280, 300 million people suffering from depression, right? Oh. So not only that, but if you really think about it, going back to what you said, the oneness. If you take away your senses, if you take away your sense of sight, if you take away your sense of smell, if you take away your sense of touch, if you take away all your senses, what do you have left? Consciousness. And that consciousness is what is part of that knowing. That's where that knowing comes from. So when you have that level of consciousness, that is where your intuitive nature comes from. And that lets you know we're all connected, we're all one. Because strip us away, I tell you what, you wake up tomorrow and be blind. Wake up tomorrow and not be able to walk. You will be side by side asking, wanting, depressing. You'll be doing all the things we all do. But until we get to that point of oneness, we'll always label or judge, and we'll be less likely to allow ourselves to make love visible. But thankfully, shows like this exist. People like you exist to remind us to make love visible, but not only in our world, but within ourselves. Crack that little space open a little bit, you know?
I think that's a hard part. I'm not sure how or what is taught in schools. I know, I mean, I grew up in a wealthy Caucasian environment. I couldn't wait to leave. You know,
great.
It gave me contrast, is what it gave me. And then I came here when I was 20 to go to college. Well, I'm still here. Fell in love with a local boy, and we were married for almost 20 years.
Yay.
And the idea that there were so many ethnic groups that could live together so beautifully, joke, and then also do a little cat clawing here and there. I've heard all kinds of ethnic and racial jokes since I've been here, including those about me being a haole and how did I make it here so long? I'm so haole. And I'm like, well, part of me, most of me just hasn't noticed because I'm just busy being me. And
there you go.
Not that I haven't noticed ethnic differences and cultures and backgrounds and skin colors and what have you. I have, but it also gives me a space to see more broad and check in with me. What is my behavior like? How am I holding myself to that place of that? And so, and growing up with youth is what's being taught that allows kids to see themselves without having a sense of being conceited and also being humble, but not receding to the point of shrinking in their beingness, and all those pieces and parts. And I think growing up where I did in La Jolla has been a gift and a thorn. Just like anywhere else, you can take whatever story that you're living in and to say, well, that's my story. Well, sometimes I pretend I was raised in Paris, France, and I'm a French girl. And without an accent. Like, you can make up whatever you want, right? And change your story if that's what you want.
That's it.
So, yeah. So,
reframing is what they call it.
Reframing. I need to reframe right now, Spirit. We only have a couple minutes left.
Okay.
Share one last piece of information you feel would be powerful for our audience to know about you and the gifts that you bring.
Well, I reflect through myself and others the potentiality that we all have. My potential, what I knew growing up, is not what I understand now. So as I develop myself, I go further out and I touch other environments, and hopefully, maybe, someone will connect in a way that says, hey, I want some of that, what you have.
That feels good.
It feels great.
I want to be next to you. I gotta get
I
some
wanna
spirit in me.
snooze a little bit.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to say thank you for having me on. It's been brilliant. I'm very honored that you have me here. So yeah, thank you.
Absolutely, my
Mahalo.
pleasure. It's I've had you on my mind for a long time.
Yay.
And I've always known that you were a bright spot here. And I wasn't going to let that disappear. I was like, I need to stay in touch with this guy.
Yeah.
And so I followed you on Facebook with your family and your kids. And he has 2 beautiful kids that he's raising here that are just as sharp as ever. And so
I'm here to serve the community. And if anyone out there ever needs to connect with me directly, by all means, I'm available for that.
yeah, so just take a look because his name and his contact are here on the screen. So feel free to reach out to Spirit. He has a big heart and will work on you in finding yours or discovering yours or getting rebalanced. And so I guess maybe I feel like I want to say just one more thing. We never know how we're going to meet people. And it's how you show up in who you are that makes the day. And so I would invite you to take a look at your life and check in with yourself and say, how am I showing up today? Am I alive, awake, aware, enthusiastic? And if I'm not, how can I course correct that? Is there an affirmation? Do I need to reach out to June to get her message from the Juniverse? That's possible. Do you need a note from the Juniverse? Whatever it takes, just find a way to shift because you are worth it. And when you make love visible for yourself first, everything changes. And so I'd like to thank you for joining the Spirit and myself today. I got the Spirit today, and I'm so grateful for your willingness to be on the program.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Spirit.
Absolutely.
Bless you for all
Bless
that you do and you bring to our community here. And for all of those watching, I look forward to seeing you again next time. Thank you. Go make some love visible today.